Okay, we're live.
Okay. We're ready, Laser. It's
Yeah, we're live. You're live.
Terry, are you back? Ashley, are you back?
I am back. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Ashley, you're back? Ashley might not be back. Let me text. I am gonna text Ashley. Okay, Ashley's back. All right. So we are at D, board action. Any questions about board transfers?
Cora's muted.
I'd like to know what it means. I don't understand why those things are being transferred and why they're being transferred.
Okay,
So I'd like to have some
Amy.
clarification.
Thank you.
Yes, so if I may, these are transfers that were needed for ECP expenses of last year, fiscal year. So what I can do, if it's okay, I can email you tomorrow clarification so you can see the breakdown of everything. And going forward, I'll make sure that it's more clear for you. But these were ECP expenses that needed to be taken care of. And so the transfers needed to be done. This was from last year. And these transfers needed to be done also because we're closing the books for the 1920 school year. But if you do need more clarification, Madam President, I can definitely email that so that it'd be clear. And like I said, going forward, so that there won't be, any confusion, I can make it clearer.
All right, that would be helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Carrie, did you have anything else? Any other additional questions or?
No, I just needed to have clarification because I didn't understand why the reasons why these were, these amounts were being transferred.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anybody else with any other questions? Okay, any questions on number 2? Any questions on number 3? EPS recommendations. All right, we are now in E, review of agenda items. Any questions on the minutes? Okay, 2, we have board policies that are coming up next, 5140, 5681, and 6150. All right, any questions on the treasurer's report for June, July, and August? Warrant report. Curriculum contract for, I'm sorry, David.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say the descriptions in the warrant reports have gotten better. They're more specific than they used to be. If the treasurer, you did that. Good.
Yeah,
good job. Okay. Thank you. A lot of questions I don't have to ask now. Very
okay.
Good.
Thank you.
All right, good. Okay, the curriculum contract for Music Conservatory of Westchester. Tanya, unmute yourself.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand how this was going to happen, considering that everything was remote. I don't know if Dr. Reynolds, you can answer that, or
Or through the president. Yes, that's the intent, is to offer remote classes, which would be safer for our students. And because our consultants have the opportunity to provide remote instruction and training, we thought this would best meet the needs of our students rather than having them coming in, number one. Number two, rather than canceling these opportunities.
are these individual lessons, or are they group lessons, or what is?
Group and individual will be it will be scheduled with the consultant working with the parents along with the school, with the administration building. So these are both.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I think Ashley had a question.
Yep, Ashley.
Thank you. Dr. Reynolds, do you know when that will start, that process will start remotely for children? Because I know that many parents had to return instruments already at this point, and I know that there's a lot of questions around it.
Yes, hopefully the opportunity is to start as soon as possible. I believe that the date that we had in mind was by the middle of next month, if I'm not mistaken. I just want to confirm that. Allow me to review, and I'll come back to it if you don't mind.
Okay.
The contract says October 21.
So it was the middle of this. I'm sorry, we're in October.
Yeah.
Middle towards the end of this month. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any questions on curriculum contract for Dr. Jennifer Pankowski? Okay. Curriculum contract on Westcott. Okay. Any on the health service contract for Bedford? Okay, we're up to work session approvals. Second. All right. Section B, instructional personnel items. Is there a motion to approve the instructional personnel items presented to the board for approval this evening?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
I have discussion.
All right, Tracy?
I just have a question about B9. I'm wondering, Dr. Reynolds, are these substitutes that we're gonna hire in the NYSED database, or are they not approved substitutes by NYSED?
No, these are all approved substitutes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I'm sorry, any opposed? Okay, any abstentions? The motion carries. Okay, section C, non-instructional personnel item. Is there a motion to table non-instructional personnel items, personal item C2, the next meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I heard Ms. Carey. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Opposed.
Okay, any extensions? All right, the motion carries. All right, is there a motion to approve non-instructional personnel items C1 and C3 presented to the board for approval this evening?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Yes, All those is there any discussion? I'm sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Okay, section D, board action items. Is there a motion to approve the board action items presented to the board for approval this evening?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All
Excuse
those-
me, Antoinette, discussion. I'm sorry, what was the number on that one?
That one is
Board action.
section D, the board action items.
This is D4, you said.
It-
Did you, I'm sorry, did you say D4?
I just said section D, the board
all
action
of
items.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Whole
sorry. Okay.
category.
Okay, good. Got it. Sorry about that.
No problem. I heard a second. No discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm sorry, Terry, did you say something?
No, I said aye.
Okay, any, opposed? All right, any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. All right. Now we are up to. Okay, I hear a lot of talk behind there. All right, so we have on here, committees. I don't know if this is something that we should also, address it at another meeting, because I know that Ivy sent us emails about it and there wasn't really many, responses. I believe Tanya, did, and I think David as well. David, I do see your hand up.
Okay, so I had this report that I wrote up on the tour. Is
Yeah.
that a committee thing? Is that a new business thing?
No, I was gonna do it after we finish this.
Great, okay.
Okay, all right. Well, it is a part of, it's a part of your.
But it was
committee, so
regular
we
board
can-
meeting, so,
Yeah, we can it's a part of your committee, so we can do it under that too. So, does anybody else, we can discuss, but like I said, I think to Ivy's email specifically about this, I will say this, pretty much what Ivy was asking for committees is asking for us to think about is who are the members, right, of these committees. We also have to think about the transcribing portion of it. Now with Zoom, we can get transcription service with that. And plus, of course, the live stream goes along with that. But I think the most, the important part is, other than the transcription of the meetings, is being very clear on who are members. And it seems like each committee has been working differently. And when the board members are the only members, and when people from the public come to observe, that requires, gosh, Ivy, what's in my head? That requires notification of our
It's
meeting.
subject to the open meeting law.
Yes, subject to open meetings law. When we have some participants of our community who are actually a part of the committees as members, then you're not subject to open meetings law. So like I said, I know only 2 people chimed in about that. Are people prepared to do that now, or do we need to come back to it? Tracy, I see your hand up.
You're on mute, Tracy.
You're muted, Tracy. Thank you, Ashley.
So tired, sorry. So listen, if the committee is small enough, if we're putting kids back in buildings and staff back in buildings, for me, if it's a small committee, I'm okay with meeting in person, then we would not have the transcription issue to deal with, correct?
That's true, but it's also about us being, I guess it's also about, and Ivy, you'll correct me, but it's also about establishing who are our members, like our,
Okay.
yeah, so that's a part of it too.
Okay, thank you.
Ashley?
Thank you. So one of the reasons I raised this once before is that, you know, regardless of whether we're subject to OML or not, depending on each particular committee, the way I understood it is the OML did not specifically go into detail as to what level of accuracy the transcription needed to occur at. My point was we haven't had any committee meetings, save for I think one committee meeting so far this year. I think that we have, we're October 6th as we speak, we're behind the ball here. Given that and knowing that Zoom is an option, a much more cheaper option that still gives us, I would consider a decent accuracy, nowhere near what we get when we transcribe per minute with a live human. I suggest that we just move forward using Zoom and use Zoom transcription service, and let's get our committee started. I mean, we're losing all this time and there's a lot of stuff we need to get handled. On top of that, when you think about it, if we do use Zoom and we're recording the videos anyways, we could post them on YouTube in addition, right? I think at this point, the other thing to consider is, as Ms. Mayor said, you know, it'd be good to have committee meetings in person, but at the same time, I got to consider, you know, our public may not necessarily feel comfortable coming into an in-person meeting. So right now, Zoom would be an obvious option to me. And, you know, I remember last year or beginning of this year, I'm losing track of time, forgive me. We had the special meeting about the budget with the, I think it was the Finance Committee. And guess what? We had more participation than I think we've ever had. So I think that Zoom is the right way moving forward, at least momentarily. And I suggest we just move forward with their transcription service so we can save some money and let's get our committee meeting started. That's my suggestion.
I agree.
I like Zoom. At least for our first meeting. And while we're allowed to do it, at least for the Finance and Fiscal Planning Committee.
Okay, Tanya?
So I would like to tackle the other issue that Ivy raised, which was about the makeup of the committees. And I guess somewhere in the back of my mind, I always thought that district committees included, that membership included community members, whereas board committees were just board members with community observing.
That's
Yeah,
Right.
that's about
so,
right.
Right. So with that in mind, I guess, Ivy, what you're saying is that only board committees fall under open meeting law, but not district committees, right? Am I getting that right? Or?
The way the attorneys explained it is that if most of the members that are on the committee are board members, even though it's not a quorum of the board and they're advisory in nature, so you have 3 board members and say 1 administrative liaison. So the majority of your committee members are board members. It's subject to the open meetings law. If you have a committee that is 3 board members, 5 administrators, 10 community members, you're all participating. You're not observers, but you're all participating in the deliberations and whatever the topic is that you're discussing, and you're all considered committee members, then no, you're not subject to the open meetings law. So the question came to be, is the Community Engagement and Communications Committee, I believe the other one you say is district-wide is your Facilities and Fiscal Planning.
Mhm.
Are the attendees all committee members? Are they all considered committee members? That's where you have to determine if you're considering them as all committee members, if they're attending, that they go to, a majority of the meetings, then it's not subject to open meetings law, in which case you don't have to worry about the transcription service and the live streaming. Although you may still want to do some kind of.
I think we definitely want to do the live streaming, but I think my question is that, it changes from meeting to meeting. I mean, some meetings we may rope in, 10 people, and then other meetings we may just have 2 people show up. So we don't know in advance other than the board members who've committed to being on those committees, we don't really know how many other people are going to show up.
Well, I think I would need to get clarification from the attorneys, because it was my impression that even if you're saying that your committee is comprised of 20 people, say, and 3 board members show up and 2 of the community members, it's a majority of the board, but your membership is 20 people. So my understanding, and I need clarification from the attorney, would be that you're still okay because your membership is more than that.
So that
Okay.
means, does that mean that we have to have people signing up for these
Yeah.
committees? Okay.
Yeah,
but
you
so-
sign in.
And you also, I think you need to take a look at the policy. I don't recall the board policy number. The number's escaping me right now on committees. Because you also had, whether you're subject to open meetings law or not, you state in your policy that all committees will have a secretary and that you will have minutes taken. of
Yes,
meetings.
yes.
We can take minutes. That doesn't cost a lot of money.
So when
I
it
think
comes,
Ivy's point was like, we have to be, like, that policy says, even if we decide to do with the, including the community in it, our board policy still references minutes being taken.
Sure,
Correct.
but not
yeah.
transcripts.
But not necessarily transcripts, right?
Not-
Which means the
not-
cost goes away, so we're good.
Yeah, not transcription, and also under open meetings laws where you have the notice provision. So you technically wouldn't have to do that either.
Okay.
All right, Tracy, go ahead, and Dr. Reynolds, I did see your hand up earlier too. Tracy, it did,
it's fine. I'll wait.
you're changing your mind, Dr. Reynolds? Okay, he changed.
Ivy made the statement that I was going to make. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Tracy?
No, I'm fine.
Oh, totally? Okay, so are we saying, like, we gotta come to something? So are we saying that, I mean, well, Ivy, we can have can we have a mixture, or do we need to really definitively say either or?
Well, in terms of the number of committees that you have, you can have a mixture of your total number of committees. You can have ones that are subject to open meetings law and not subject. But once you establish a committee, as you know, our committee members are 3 board members, 1 administrative liaison, it's subject to open meetings law. And if you have, say you have 3 people coming to make presentations, that doesn't count. And if you have members of the public showing up to observe the meeting or
doesn't
ask the question, that doesn't count.
Mhm. Okay,
My question.
Ashley, then Tracy.
And can I suggest that we keep things simple? I think the simpler we can make things, the better it will be for all of us to keep this stuff straight. My suggestion is we move forward. We notice all of our committee meetings because we want our public to attend anyway. So why not better to just announce it?
Right.
And that we just move forward with the Zoom meetings, transcribing it through them. For committee meetings, obviously we will maintain the manual transcription service for our BOE meetings because we need accuracy there. And we can record them. And if we want, if the board so decides, my suggestion would be that we live stream them on YouTube as well.
Right.
Okay, Tracy.
So for committees such as that, like I've been on, for example, the fiscal committee, we tend to have a couple of people that always come, and then every once in a while we get more people may show up for a particular evening or a particular topic. Yet, and I know David has been the chair the last year or two, I'm assuming you have a database of people who attended the last meeting and you just keep them
They
informed.
sign up and we keep their email and then they
Right.
get added and then we invite them to the next meeting, whether they show up or not.
Right.
That snowball effect has come to fruition with the CEC to the point at which you have almost 200 people on the list, and different people will show up
So-
at different times. So
Oh
when you
my
run
gosh,
that,
she's so cute,
you
that cat.
you have no problem.
So my question is, who is officially a member? Is it someone on that, like he says, his 200-person list that shows up, that votes on a topic? I mean, it's not like a Board of Ed vote, but with the Facilities Committee, we've definitely looked at information and then decided to send it up to the
Recommendations, yeah.
board, right, recommendation. So, like, do we need to be a little bit clearer on who signs up maybe in the beginning of the year to be on the committee? And then that's it, that's who's on the committee. Other people can come, but they can't necessarily vote on a recommendation, or do we leave it open? I mean, that kind of leaves a lot of room for gray area there.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Dr. Reynolds, I see your hand.
My experience has been, through the president, my experience has been any board committees, subcommittees, you should regulate and determine what the makeup of that committee is going to be. You should have a chairperson. That chairperson is responsible for providing the report of that committee to the entire board during your board meeting. These meetings are usually meetings held in public, but not public meetings, meaning anybody can attend, but they have no say. They have to provide their questions, comments, either through email or some other venue to either the chair or the secretary. That's been my experience in the past.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Abby?
I also found as you were speaking, so it's policy 2210, covers committees. And there is a component that says the Board of Education will establish by majority vote any committee and or subcommittee and the number of its members. The Board of Education will establish by majority vote the charge, mission, and duties of any committee and or subcommittee of the board. Superintendent will determine the charge, mission, and duties of any committee or subcommittee of the district, subject to board approval.
So committee of the board needs number of members, committee of the district does not?
That's what it sounds
It
like.
appears that way, the way this is written.
2210, you said? I'm looking.
2210.
It's 2210.
So with
And
that said, I mean, it could just be a simple, I mean, it's late, but I'm saying, sign up in the beginning of the year. It could be
And-
that simple.
I'm sorry, there's also one other component because it's kind of a lengthy policy. Appointment of members, it says, except for ad hoc committees, the Board of Education will appoint all committee members by majority vote.
Okay, so that sounds like the beginning of the year, everyone signs up, and then October meeting or whatever, you vote, and that's who's in the committee for that year. It doesn't sound like you can change that.
And then it'll establish how many, how many
many
members are on it.
Yeah.
And then how many you have and whether it's subject to open meetings law or not.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Well, thank you for bringing this topic up, Antoinette, to tighten up the operations.
I feel like this was an Ivy,
This was a
and-
Mr.
Ivy?
Warner. It was a Mr. Warner.
David, whoever brought it up, thank you.
I know that the CEC has had this process done to it, so do we have a vote on 195 members?
No, I think you should decide how many members you want. You wouldn't, yes. So people could still participate as observers, but I think it shouldn't.
You're going to have an inner circle of CEC folk who have more rights than the others.
Right.
Oh,
right,
this is
right.
going to be messy when we switch over.
Listen, you have to get together and just figure out what's the best amount of, because you have to think about, like, when you're in there discussion, the time it takes to have, if you had a real committee of 100 and something people. So you just have to be sensible and think about what the makeup
10 or
is and
15
what
people
makes
show
sense.
up at a given meeting, but and so it doesn't get out of hand that way. Most of the people just we distribute the notes from the last meeting, and they look at it. If they care about a topic, they show up for the next meeting. And so I never had to print more than 15 agendas at a time.
Well, now you can share it via virtually.
Yep.
All right, so I guess I would suggest our next meetings our next committee meetings, these are some of the first things we should talk about, not only just the charges, but also the makeup, the amount of people and things like that. Ashley.
Okay.
So that said, as a board, are we saying we're good with moving forward and scheduling our committee meetings at this point?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and we're agreeing on the Zoom and that whole thing, so we don't have to spend $1.25 a minute per committee?
Sure.
I agree.
Okay.
Tanya, Terry, Tracy, any thoughts? Chime in. Starting the committee meetings, using Zoom as transcription, meeting and figuring out what your composition of it is, and then begin meeting and sharing information, our meeting dates and all of those things.
So we've already had one meeting. Ivy, did you actually do the bona fide transcription of that one? And now we're going to go back. We're just going to transcribe them via Zoom.
That one would, because it wasn't recorded, so that one would need the transcription.
Okay. I think it was recorded. I think we asked Laser to record it.
I meant automatic transcription. When I said recording, I meant setting it up so that it automatically transcribes.
Okay, got it.
All right, anybody else? Tracy, or you're good with this? Miss Carrie? Okay, Miss Carrie, one more time. Yes, I see you.
Yeah, I'm okay
Carrie?
with it.
I'm good with it.
Okay. David,
Yes, ma'am.
summary of facilities.
Okay, here we go. Board of Education held a special meeting on Monday, October 5th, 2020 at 3 p.m. to conduct a walkthrough of the school buildings in preparation for students returning for in-person instruction. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the public was not permitted on the walkthrough for the health and safety of the students and staff. No board action was taken during the walkthrough. We wore masks and traveled between facilities and our individual vehicles. Facilities Director Michael Falcone led the tour. Attendees included Antoinette Darden-Cintron, Tracy Mears, David Warner, Ashley Pineda, and Tanya Dragic. We visited 4 schools: E.F. Jackson, R.J. Bailey, Highview, and Woodlands. As we entered each facility, we took our own temperatures at a no-touch kiosk. Schools were clean, hallway floors were shiny and had social distancing decals. There were hand sanitizer dispensers near in classrooms. Drinking fountains were shut down except for the water bottle refilling station portions of them. All schools have current inspections for their fire extinguishers. All schools have current asbestos management reports. The rest of the report is school by school. E.F. Jackson. We met with ECP Director Dawn Mail and Principal Patricia Simone at LF Jackson. It was the first day for LF Jackson and ECP staff in the school. All students continue remote learning this week. Cohort A students are scheduled to physically return to ECP in Jackson Tuesday, 10/13. ECP classrooms are in process of being socially distanced. Teachers are moving chairs and tables and preparing to sort items into packets for individual students. K1 desks and tables are socially distanced. Teachers are setting up materials for students next week. There's a supply of clear plastic dividers for use for individual instruction. If a teacher and a student are required to sit at the same table. No touch hand sanitizer dispensers throughout the building. Need new batteries. There's a plan to have 3 K1 students per lunch table in the cafeteria during 4 different lunch periods. ECP students will eat in their classrooms. Plastic curtains for the nurse's office are on order to replace the existing cloth curtains. Dividers are in-house but need to be set up. We discussed installing an exhaust fan in the AC unit slot to increase ventilation in the nurse's office during cold weather. HVAC filters for the school have arrived and are being installed. The fresh air intake dampers in the boiler room have been partially repaired. We are at 75% fresh air intake capacity. A minimum of 20% is used in cold weather. So the damper opens or closes however much it needs to in order to be able, for the furnace to be able to keep up and maintain the temperature when it gets cold. 20% is good enough, we're at 75. Control systems are non-functional. The dampers must be hand adjusted to maintain temperature using a ladder. So you stand up there and move each thing individually. We can open the school, but long-term, this system needs to be replaced. RJ Bailey. We met with Principal Shifa Rossi at RJ Bailey. Staff is scheduled to return to Bailey on Tuesday, October 13th. All students continue remote learning. Cohort B students are scheduled to physically return to Bailey on Monday, October 19th. Classroom desks are socially distanced. We toured the extensive nurse's office complex and looked at the gym. The main topics of discussion were air quality in the classrooms and gym and auditorium. So listen to this part because we may need to make a decision on this at a near time. Classroom exhaust systems are now open, but testing last week revealed that this does not promote sufficient classroom air circulation. Classrooms have individual fresh air intakes and units that heat the air. These units have not been operational for several decades, and parts are no longer available. The rooms have relied on open windows, AC units for cooling, and radiators for heating. In the short term, we can purchase 31 inexpensive box fans for the windows and provide air circulation and open the schools safely. Depending on fan availability, we may even be able to open on schedule. However, this solution is not viable for winter months, and a replacement for the air intake heating units is required. This will take time to implement. The administration and the board should weigh in on this. So we need the administration to come back and tell us, what do you think? Should we go forward with the fans or not? And open the school. Should we hold out for a longer term solution? Should we open the schools now and design a longer term solution? That's what I'm in favor of. The only rooms with motorized exhaust systems at RJ Bailey are the auditorium and the gymnasium. These motors need to be replaced. This is not necessary to open school, but the gym will be required for inclement weather recess as the year progresses. So just because school opens doesn't mean the air quality effort is over. We've got to keep going. Highview. We met with Principal Gary Mastrangelo at Highview. All Highview students continue remote learning this week. Cohort A students are scheduled to physically return to Highview Tuesday, 10/13. The biggest change at Highview is the relocation of 4 ECP classrooms and ECP administrative staff, Don Mail and Company, from the main ECP building to ensure fresh air. So they're at Highview now. Furniture for 3 of the classrooms is in place and socially distanced. The 4th ECP classroom requires tables to be brought over from the main ECP building. We checked to ensure bathroom access for the chosen ECP classrooms. Gotta be close to a bathroom for ECP kids. Don Mail and ECP administrative staff will be located in the library/innovation room area. Some existing library furniture is suitable for their use. Mr. Mastrangelo reported that Technology Director Carlos Ramirez has determined requirements for phone lines, power, and network drops, so a cost estimate should be forthcoming. The new expanded nurse's office is the previous side of the Highview Parent Coffees. If you went to one of those, that's where they're at now. Big room. It features a separate exit so that if any student is identified as potentially positive for COVID-19, their parents can escort them out without passing through the rest of the building. Highview has exhaust fans for individual classrooms. Every classroom's got something like a light switch that turns that on and off. All of them are working. Plastic boxes have been installed over the fan switches to ensure that fans will not be turned off by mistake. Woodlands. We met with Principal Matt Smith at Woodlands Middle High School. Staff is scheduled to return to Woodlands on Tuesday, October 13th. All students continue remote learning. Cohort B students are scheduled to physically return to Woodlands on Monday, October 19th. Classes have socially distanced desks with tape markers on the floor. Each classroom has a maximum occupancy posted on the door. Students will be provided with breakfast, which they can eat at their first period classes. Lunch will be held in the cafeteria, 2 students per table, and in satellite locations with socially distanced desks. The former student lounge, the Freelo Center, and the art room that has been serving as the principal's office. The principal's office is now at the back of the library. Woodlands has 2 HVAC rooms, one on the first floor near the life skills rooms, and one on the third floor across from the administrative offices. Both fans are running. The first floor fan motor is extremely noisy and will disturb the life skills students. It needs to be serviced. The auditorium has a separate fan room accessible from the roof. For the vendor, it was repaired, but recently staff could not start it up. We are checking on this. The nurse's office needs fans to increase air circulation. Duct work needs to be completed for the third floor office complex. In the meantime, doors are kept open. A new electronic lock controls access to stairs to upper floors. At the conclusion of the tour, that's it for Woodland, we held a brief discussion and board members present agreed that, 1, the Finance and Facilities Committee should develop recommendations on prioritizing and funding our most critical facilities repairs. And 2, the board needs to obtain a recommendation from the administration and discuss next steps with regard to RJ Bailey classroom air quality. The meeting adjourned at 6:24 p.m. That's it.
Tracy,
You're muted.
Gosh, I don't know why it's not working. So I don't know if this can be answered, but I did hear earlier this evening that there's an additional report now that we're waiting on.
Dr. Reynolds?
Thank you, trustees, through the president. So the additional report that we're waiting on would be at the conclusion of all of the work, which is scheduled to take place this week. So whatever instances there needed to be some adjustments, we're still waiting for, and I have to get the right term. Please forgive me. It keeps slipping my mind. It is called the ventilation
Report.
assessment audit. Yes.
Okay. So okay. So are we basically saying that we may not get an audit report until the end of the week, and then
And then that it may impact our opening date because we won't know whether to go forward with the box fans or not?
That is correct. The recommendation right now is that we move forward with the box fans, and we're hoping to get
Okay.
them in place. That is, again, a temporary fix, again, because of the cold weather. So we would have to look at different remedies, but that is a recommendation at this point.
Great.
So I also remembered, and Dr. Reynolds, I don't know if you were here yet, but I remember when we approved 750,000 to work on the buildings over the summer. I don't remember the date. We've had so many meetings. Is there any way to know like why this didn't come up then? Because I know that there was still money left over. And I'm wondering now, why are you making faces, David? There was at least
No,
for
I'm waiting for
Bailey.
your sentence, Dan. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
at least for Bailey, at least the last spreadsheet I looked at. I mean, I can look now to see if it's been updated again, but the last spreadsheet I looked at, there was money left over. And specifically in Bailey, there was like $20,000 left over. So I'm wondering if this is anything that is that money gonna come out of that? I mean, what happened to the money that was left over there, but we're not ready to open?
I'm not in a position
Possibly.
to answer that question. I'm sorry, trustee.
Okay,
I believe that what we said was, come back to us when you run out of money.
right, but we
Do
never
everything
got
as
a
cheaply as
request.
possible and come back to us when you run out of money. And so when we run out of money, they come back.
yes,
Okay.
I'm just assuming that we didn't get additional requests, either everything, like the finances are fine, or they are, waiting to get additional information to decide how they're gonna use any additional funds. That's what I'm assuming. Okay.
Tanya has her hand up.
Tanya, thank you, David.
So Dr. Reynolds, there was a ventilation assessment in our last board packet. Is there going to be another one?
To my understanding, yes, there will be, trustee. And this is because work has been ongoing since that last report. So this one has to be completed.
Okay, because, so I read the one that we have, and it seems like basically all the buildings are good to go except for essentially RJ Bailey has these issues. And so I guess, David, when we set up our facilities and finance committee meeting, are we going to, I know that we briefly touched on this topic with Mr. Falcone to see, what the possible solutions are, for a long-term solution rather than just, fans, which are just not going to work in the cold weather. So is that where we're still going with this? I mean, I think that it's really kind of, to me, it's like a priority.
It's a short-term solution to get school open.
I
So
understand
then what
that.
needs to happen is the architects need to come back and say, what's the long-term solution, right? So they'll have their report, and if we get that this week, great. Then the next step is, okay, what can we replace those boxes with that will basically do the same thing or an equivalent solution, right? And what's the cost of that? And what's the time factor for that? And then we can figure that in.
But I think that they've already done that. I mean, in the building condition survey, we already have that built into it, the ventilation systems for each of the buildings. And I believe that also in that initial report that we got during the summer, it was already in there, wasn't it? I mean,
It was in there, but it assumed a negative pressure scenario instead of a positive pressure scenario.
Okay.
Remember that? We had that giant discussion of negative versus positive. They
Yes.
thought that it was doing one thing and it was doing another. It's actually, the boxes are actually sucking cold air in, heating it up and blasting it into the room. And then the exhaust system is passive, right? And what we thought previous to the further investigation was that those were exhaust fans. So if they're going to come back, they may change the price tag on us because it does something different than what they thought.
Got it.
Can I bring up an issue, a practical issue about, and I brought it up when we were on our walk, so I'll say it publicly. The job that Ms. Rossi did was great with the spacing of the desks and, counting everything out. But, the way that the rooms are set up, there's a row of desks that are right next to a window. And when you're talking about an open window, when you're talking about fans, I know as a parent, even pre-COVID, the buildings have temperature issues. Your kids will come home and say, in one room you're hot, in another room you're cold. You don't know how to dress. Some kids are in jackets pre-COVID in certain buildings. And now you're going to have a row of students sitting next to a fan blowing into the room. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, not even waiting until January. We have cold days. We have cold days now, cold, damp, wet days. I mean, what practically, I'm just not sure, how it's going to work. I did bring that up on the walk, and I think it needs to be said.
Okay, I will say that Dr. Reynolds said that there's some things that are on the table to be taken care of now. So we're still in that moment to see how those things are addressed and how they will be effective or not. Terry and then Ashley, I saw your hand.
So, thank you. A couple of things. One quick technical issue that's unrelated to this. Perhaps is Ivy also a host with this part of the meeting?
Let me see.
Well, the only reason I ask is this: I had my hand up electronically for a while now, and obviously, we're all taking notes and looking at stuff. If Ivy is a co-host or going forward, if we could have her be in a position to, I hate to put the pressure on you, Ivy, but I trust your objectivity to manage when people raise their hands, that would be helpful. So with that said, let me just get to the point that I was going to make about this. First of all, colleagues, thank you for going on the walkthrough. David, thank you for your very specific notes and your observations. We've gotten into a lot of questions here after listening to David's notes. We've asked a few questions of Dr. Reynolds. Dr. Reynolds, thank you for answering them to the best of your ability. I'm getting concerned here that we are basically spinning our wheels because none of us are experts here. What I would suggest, and I am certainly not one for an extra meeting, but I think what we need to do is perhaps have a special meeting with the architect, with Mike Falcone, with all of the relevant materials. And by relevant materials, I mean the building condition survey and any subsequent reports that came out, so that we're all looking at the same thing at the same time, so that we can get the same answer and move forward on this. It's 20 minutes to 12 already. You know, some of you all, and again, I thank you for your diligence in going to that to the walkthrough. But now some of this is starting to venture into, you know, for lack of a better term, some do-it-yourself work, and that's never good. So please consider, if not having a special meeting, I hate to have it at our next board meeting because it will lengthen it unnecessarily. But you know, let's tackle this once and for all in an environment and in a setting that is suitable. And I would say at 20 minutes to 12 on a work night, this is not the environment for that.
You like Thursday the 15th?
So I have another question. I don't know if you want to deal with that or answer the question. I think Ashley was next.
Ashley was next, and then I'll go after Ashley. Go ahead, Ashley.
Thank you. What I was going to say is, in addition to everything we've already said, it is late, but I'll make it short. You know, during the tour, I got the impression that there was still a bit of confusion as to how we are going to maintain those ventilation standards, specifically during the colder weather. So with that said, because we have to remember, all of these buildings are unique and they function in different ways. I don't think this is a one size fits all. We cannot tell RJ Bailey, open 2 windows, and tell Hy-Vee, open 2 windows, and it's not gonna be the same thing. So what I think we do need to do is we need some guidance from EnviroScience. In my mind, is the number one contributor here, and they should help us outline specifically per building what our minimum requirement is and how do we maintain that. Obviously, when we're above 40 degrees, yeah, we can probably open all the windows and our heating systems will probably be just fine. You know, if we're below 32, I don't think that's going to happen. So we need some kind of guidance from them in terms of rate of airflow change, et cetera, but taking into account the realistic scenario here that when it gets cold out, it's going to be freezing. And I think we need that guidance from them. And I think we need it specifically per building so that our administrators in each building, including the teachers, the custodial staff, so everyone's on the same page. Okay, this is what we need to do in this building under this operating condition. Thank you.
I know, Antoinette, you said you were next, and then I have a question.
I just wanted to kind of, you know, I think Dr. Reynolds, again, I'll repeat myself, I think he, you know, laid out how we were going to move forward. I think that we should be mindful of that as far as the work that's going to be done and seeing where that is, and also getting direction and feedback from the superintendent as well, because I'm bringing that up again because we are very much going around. We're sharing our thoughts and sharing, you know, where we're at, what we've seen at the walk or the tour. But again, we still have the main factors that we have to get back to. So Tracy, please go ahead. David, I think yours was as well.
No, I'm good. Go ahead, Tracy.
Okay. So I agree with Mr. Williams that we do need to have a special meeting. My only thing, like, we have to do this soon. I mean, that's all. Time is like, I'm really pressed for us to have a meeting in like 2 days or something. But sooner. Yeah, David, sooner than later, because, and the only reason why I'm being so annoyed about it is because we're trying to, this week is the elementary kids in school. Next week, we would be putting staff into, and we're specifically talking about RJ Bailey, but I think we need to have a meeting sooner than later and get some clear answers about what the direction is. Ashley suggested EnviroScience give us some direction on it, but I mean, how I don't want to wait until the last minute for that.
Okay, when do you want to have the meeting?
I don't know. I feel like this is the last minute, so I don't know. I'm free after 3.
Okay.
I mean, are we going to have a full board meeting, or should we just go ahead and schedule a finance and facilities committee meeting to sort of get the first input and then report back to the?
Tanya, that's more time. I mean,
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just calculating forward then. Yeah.
that's 2 meetings if we do the
Yes. Yeah.
committee.
I just thought that it would be easier to get 3 people together rather than 7.
Yeah.
Well, look, we have a short-term recommendation, which is put up box fans. Right?
Yes.
So we're not stopping them from putting up box fans. The next thing that has to happen is that report has to come out, because nobody's going to proceed without the report. They have to do some work, right, and report on that work. So so if you want them to move forward, you probably need to do it after Friday.
Do you want your kids sitting in front of a box fan, David?
Okay,
I wouldn't
so
want my kids sitting in front of a box fan.
If they put the
I
box
said that
fan up
already.
high enough, then yes.
Okay.
Can I say, could you guys, let me see, am I unmuted? I am unmuted. So we're still going around, right? And again, there is work that's going to be, Dr. Reynolds, if I'm saying the wrong week, is it the rest of this week? I believe there's work that is happening or that will be happening. So I guess in my mind, does it make sense for us to meet now? There's still work happening. We're still waiting for the EnviroScience is still going to come back with whatever they have to say. To me, it's like the order of things. Do we meet, make decisions about things, and then we can hear something from the work that's going to be done, from whether it's from Mr. Falcone, Dr. Chase's recommendations, all of those things. Will we meet before hearing those things?
So, President Darden, to answer the question, I think that was posed to me. The timeline and time frame that was provided stated that all work was to be completed this week, with the additional assessment to be completed during this week as well.
Thank you. So I definitely, listen, don't get me wrong, I understand the timing, but let's say we meet tomorrow. There's still work being done. There's still the EnviroScience testing, the work that they're going to do, also at pretty much culminating this week.
I understand. I just have one more question that doesn't have to do with facilities, so I don't know if anyone had any.
Let's hold on that thought. So I'm proposing for us to think about meeting, having a meeting next week. Ivy can poll the board at a later date. Tomorrow she can poll to see who's available for Monday or Tuesday.
Are we putting fans in there before we put staff in there on Monday?
We're going to follow whatever the work is on the table to be done. That is finishing this week, I believe, and also the EnviroScience. So those things need to happen.
Bailey staff will be back next Tuesday. Monday's a holiday, Columbus Day, and then Tuesday they come back.
Antoinette,
Yes.
do we know for sure that the fans have been ordered?
We don't.
No,
That's something that we,
So I agree with everyone, but I guess my
as of yesterday, they have not been, from my understanding.
can we get a positive confirmation after the meeting that they have been ordered? I don't want us to sit here assuming that it's happened, and then a virus science potentially comes in on Friday and it hasn't happened. And to your point,
It takes
Antoinette,
forever for the fans to show up, right?
so let's just be clear if we can be. That'd be helpful.
Mr. Williams raised his hand.
I don't see his hand. He doesn't even have a hand
He
up.
did, he had a hand up. I lowered it because I was telling you that he raised it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Then.
Okay.
Terry?
Thank you, Vice President Mayers. It was my electronic hand. Let me just be clear on my request for the possible meeting. That's not at the expense of doing the work that has already been set. So I just want to be clear on that. If our experts have said to us, we need these fans, I'm going to listen to the experts on this one. I did not propose that as an alternative. I clearly want to do. I clearly want to do the makeshift work. The makeshift work. I wish we didn't have to, but I clearly want to do that to accelerate or keep on task the opening of the schools. But the meeting idea was because we were starting to spin our wheels here, I thought. And rather than spin our wheels without the experts being here, I thought that they could add some clarification and some direction that I would be confident in. But by no means am I suggesting that we not do the interim work. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, no other hands are up. Okay. So I agree. There's a recommendation already out there for fans. There's EnviroScience finishing their work on this week sometime at the end of the week. Let's see where that is. Ivy, you'll poll the board for any dates for next week for a meeting.
Okay.
Not now, but later on. Dr. Reynolds?
Just to clarify, so we have permission based on our recommendation to move forward with ordering the fans. Is that correct?
Say that one
Yes.
more time, Dr.
Do
Reynolds?
we have permission to order the box fans?
Yes, that was the recommendation. That was the recommendation. We can get where people are. David, you're shaking your head yes.
Yes.
Terry, I heard you a few minutes ago. I believe yours is a yes.
Well,
Oh, no.
As
the
a
short answer is-
temporary solution, as a
No,
temporary
I get that,
solution.
Dr. Reynolds. I
Yeah.
get that.
Okay.
Yes, that's my answer.
Okay, Ashley?
Yeah, I wish we didn't have to because it seems like we're burning some money, but I understand the urgency and the need. So I much rather would burn that money and have the kids be safe temporarily while we figure out a permanent solution. So yes, let's move forward.
Tanya?
I mean, yes, I thought that was the plan all along.
Yep. Tracy?
Yep, we're burning money.
Me, yes. Okay, moving forward. Did I skip anyone? Miss Carey? Miss Carey? I see you
Whatever.
there.
Is there any way I
Whatever.
could,
Go ahead, move on.
Is that a yes?
Well, it's not a no. Let's put it that
Okay.
way.
Good enough.
All right. Moving forward. That's
I have-
enough. I thought I heard something just now. Was that you,
Yes.
Tracy? New
yes,
business?
so I have a question about how, and it might have come up earlier tonight. If it did, I'll look at the tape, just let me know. But is there any direction on how our teaching staff is gonna do in person and virtual at the same time?
I'm sorry, I thought I answered that question at that point.
Yeah, okay, I will go back then and look. I
Yeah.
must
No,
have
no,
missed.
it's fine. I can answer again.
Um,
The teachers will have to adapt to both, unfortunately. There's no other avenue for us to regroup our students, change classrooms, homeroom classrooms, teachers, things of that nature. Students having to have the experience of learning to work with a new adult in a remote setting. We don't have provision for that, nor would it be good for our students mentally at this point. That's what we've decided as administrators. We're talking about the social and emotional wellness of our students, particularly during the pandemic.
And specifically with the cameras that the teachers are going to have, if there's any Wi-Fi issues in any of the buildings, any parts of the buildings within particular buildings, how are those kids at home virtually going to get that synchronous in class the same time? Have we problem solved any of that? Have we like literally gone to each room and tested that the Wi-Fi is working?
That's the reason for us bringing the teachers in a week early, so that we
Okay.
are in the process of testing that.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Yes.
my concern is this, after listening to everything and everybody. My concern is this, we're talking about, getting the schools back in order and in safe condition for the kids. I have gotten several phone calls over the last couple of weeks about cleaning materials. There appears not to be any type of cleaning equipment for the staff in the schools. Several told me they've asked, and they were told to talk to Falcone, and he said that they don't have any money for any what is the hell is it? It's getting late. My mind is
PPE,
all
personal
everywhere.
protective equipment.
Wipes,
Cleaning equipment to sterilize their environment.
okay.
And I'm trying to figure out, Dr. Oh Lord, Dr. Reynolds, do you know if there is money for equipment to do the sterilizing of the classrooms as the teachers and the kids go in? Teachers need that themselves. Not only do you need people to clean, but they need from time to time to wipe down desks and stuff like that. So is there going to be that kind of equipment in the classrooms as they start using the classrooms again?
Yes, thank you very much, Trustee Carey. So yes, there are funds available, and we do have the materials. Once the students start coming back into the classroom, those will be dispensed to the teachers. And I want to be sure that we're using the proper term. We will not be sterilizing the classroom. We will be sanitizing classrooms.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
That's what I meant, sanitize. I couldn't get the word out.
Yes, use of wipes and sprays with other wipeable materials that will be delivered to our classrooms or to groups of classrooms where they can be utilized.
Okay, what about the offices and the nurses and all the nurses' office, all of those places where kids could congregate in the rooms with the guidance counselors and stuff like that? Will they all be privy to the sanitizing equipment?
In my conversation with Mr. Falcone just last evening, that decision was made and it will be provided. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm finished, Madam President.
All right, thank you, Ms. Carey. Is there any other new business? Okay, I apologize for having my camera off. I really do have a bad migraine at this point, so I am sitting in the dark. Thank you all for hanging with us, still being in the meeting at this time. I'm not sure how many people are on YouTube as of right now. Board trustees, thank you for your input and questions, and Dr. Reynolds and Amy, Steve, Laser, thank you for being here. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
All
Second.
those, second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any extensions? The meeting has ended. Thank you, guys. Everybody, please try to get some rest and have a good night.
Thank
night.
you. Good night. Before
Thank you.
midnight. Good job.
Thank you, David.